For everything good, there must be something bad. Today's episode, which is coming out a day early because of how much content we've got coming tomorrow, we're going to talk about what was good about Star Wars Episode 5 Empire Strikes Back. Stay tuned. Hey guys, Brent here back for Geek Variants. As I'm sure you heard earlier, we've got tons of amazing content coming for tomorrow. The Black Clover movie, I'll have that covered for you. Will and the return of Tony will be back for The Flash tomorrow, so a lot of great stuff coming for that. But look, let's talk about what was good with Star Wars Episode 5 Empire Strikes Back. And some people review this as the greatest sequel film that's ever been made. I think there's arguments to be made that there are better, but as far as Star Wars is concerned, this is the holy grail of movie number 2. The sequel getting it 100% correct. And I have to say, I wholeheartedly agree. This isn't my personal favorite Star Wars film.
What?
However, its rewatchability is absolutely through the roof. I enjoy it thoroughly. It's a fantastic film. A lot of the audiences would agree. 8.7 on IMDb, one of the highest rated films of all time, inside the top 20 highest rated films, period, by all moviegoers, 94% for Rotten Tomatoes, so the numbers speak for themselves. How well did this do commercially? Well, initially went in with what was supposedly going to be a budget around about $10 million due to everything else that was going on, including a stage 3 fire. All in all, it was about $30 million to get this film just to the box office. And luckily, this film killed it at the box office. $405 million box office with a couple re-releases. It ended up around $580 million total for just the box office overall. So this film clearly gained back a lot of money, and George Lucas doubled down on this bet. He literally bet basically the company on this film. Initially he was going to sell to Fox everything because he just wanted to be done with it because the mental health was deteriorating so much on George Lucas that he just wanted to be done with it. Luckily for all of us fans, he didn't, and look what we got here. This film has so many iconic sequences throughout it that many of them are still quoted to this day. A really good friend of mine is very, very big fan of this film, and he has a ringtone set up so that when his wife texts him, all it texts is, "I know." And if you've watched this film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're talking about the iconic scene where Princess Leia finally tells Han, "I love you." And well,
I love you.
I know.
he knows. And in true Star Wars fan fashion, everyone loved it, adored it, and it became one of the highlights of this film throughout. Kind of like how Boba Fett kind of became a hero character throughout this, even though he didn't say anything, but he became like this cult classic figure that people just loved and adored. Even though his whole entire concept was based upon the fact there were supposed to be super stormtroopers at some point, and that just never panned out. So Boba Fett and the Mandalorian race, you guys won out, all because George Lucas didn't want to use the idea of a super stormtrooper. Fantastic. Gotta love it. And then we obviously have the most iconic film, if not one of the most iconic film moments of all time, with Darth Vader telling Luke Skywalker, "I am your father." And this line has been misquoted so many times, I believe I just did right in this moment in time. Let the footage roll.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No, I am your father.
And just like that, we have one of the most iconic scenes ever done. And honestly, this film's action, the plot, the pacing, and everything involving the story for this was a perfect 10 out of 10. The pacing was absolutely what it should have been. And it showed a very realistic battle for the rebels, what should have happened. Because in many and all skirmishes, the rebels were getting decimated. Let's just be 100% honest about this. The Battle of Hoth was basically a summarization of what should happen when you have a giant tyrannical empire trying to step down on some rebellion.
Position 3. Steady. Stay tight and low. This is it. Ow! Bobby! I've been hit!
It gets squashed really quick. General Veers marches his troops right in, decimates everyone, leaves. Not anything to worry about. Clear W. Darth Vader showed up just because he wanted to finally kibosh this whole rebellion thing, because he didn't just have his wife die just not to have his empire succeed.
It is useless to resist.
He'll be damned for that. This man is too dramatic and too over the top to allow this to be happen, which is honestly why we love him and why he's rated as the #1 villain of all time by everyone. He's one of the most iconic figures ever brought to life, and it's David Prowse in the bodysuit, and he does not get barely any credit for it, including all of his lines being overwritten by the iconic James Earl Jones. And is any of us really mad at that? Because James Earl Jones is a phenomenal voice actor. We were so blessed to have him in this galaxy that we love. Frank Oz was brought on for this project as Yoda. Yoda was originally like a throwaway character that had been cast, recast, fired, let go, decided not to have, and then ultimately brought up into this film because Alec Guinness was not able, due to deteriorating eyesight around bright lights, that he was not going to be able to be on stage or on set for anything. Ultimately, they're able to renegotiate his contract for 5% of Empire's gross profit overall to bring him in for just a few hours of work that he did in this film, and you can literally count. He's probably on screen for maybe less than 5 minutes of the film, but for 5% of the profits, that's a really, really good payday right there. So he secured himself a huge bonus because Lucas realized when he killed off Guinness's character that he kind of needed a mentor for Luke and kind of missed out on that part, but ultimately everything worked out perfectly. We got one of the most iconic and interesting characters in all of any sci-fi type lore, let alone anyone period, because even the most casual people who don't really indulge in Star Wars know how Yoda talks. His speech pattern in delivery is backwards, and that's just the way it is. We don't know why it is the way that it is, and we still don't know why Grogu won't talk, but hey, we got what we got. Adding on to everything throughout this action-packed scene, we got more stuff delved into involving the storyline of Han Solo trying to escape from the bounty of Jabba the Hutt, how all of that ultimately panned out with one of the greatest bounty hunters the galaxy has ever seen, ending up capturing him and this brilliant plot using the Empire to get things done because, well, Boba is that dude. And we got introduced to people like Bosk and Dengar along the way, including another one of the, I believe it was IG-88 battle droid. I'm very, very bad with the IG iteration name and the recantation of who they are exactly because, not to be that guy, the IG units, other than maybe one or two iconic things about each one that makes them slightly distinctive, are largely the same. So it's hard to get that one entirely accurate, but at the same time, we get the introduction of those characters. The score by John Williams was fantastic and beautifully written. There were very, very few things about this film that anyone would ever redo, and it's held within Star Wars fans' hearts very, very deeply, as it should. Next week, I'm going to have to struggle to talk about what was bad about this film, but I assure you there are some things that can be moderately tweaked, but overall, this film is very enjoyable. It's worth a rewatch at any point in time that you get a chance to watch it. And Star Wars fans, we love you, and we love the galaxy far, far away because of films like this. If you're going to show someone a Star Wars film, I would highly recommend you show them Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. And if you've listened to me talk now for about 8.5 minutes, be sure to hit that lovely red subscribe button. Clearly I was talking about something you either loved or you thoroughly hated. Hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about it in the comments section. That's what we're all about here at Geek Variants. We have tons of content coming for you, the viewer. We cover everything from Star Wars, Marvel, DC, anime, Lord of the Rings, and more. All for you. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.